Robert has a benefit card with hundreds of dollars already on it, money he paid for inside his Medicare premium. It refills every quarter, so reliably it feels permanent. September feels like the quietest month on the calendar. Nothing in that pile of mail looks like it's on a clock. But at midnight on September 30th, every dollar he hasn't spent is simply erased. It doesn't roll over. It doesn't come back as a credit. The average senior loses more than $500 this exact way. But that vanishing card is only one of 7 doors closing this September, and doing nothing is what closes every one of them. I'm Uncle Bill, and in this video, I'll show Robert and his wife Linda how the calmest looking month on a retiree's calendar quietly drains thousands. I walk Robert through 7 silent deadlines in one pile of mail. The letter that sets next year's drug costs, the check that stops instead of switching over, and the raise that trips a tax line frozen since 1983. By the end, you'll see the one rule under all 7, and why doing nothing is the costliest move this month. Robert drops the September mail on the kitchen table, a stack of thick, official-looking envelopes. If any of this were really urgent, somebody would call. Uncle Bill just watches which one he sets aside. Robert and Linda paid into Social Security and Medicare for 40 years. The whole promise was that one day it runs itself. The check lands on the 1st. The card renews on its own. So the envelopes go straight to the I'll get to it pile. And September feels like the quietest square on the calendar. No tax day, no holiday, nothing due. But that quiet isn't the system leaving them alone. It's the one thing every silent deadline needs. Your attention pointed somewhere else. Uncle Bill picks the letter back out of the pile. The most expensive things that happen to a retiree don't arrive with a phone call. They arrive as mail that looks exactly like junk. Not one of September's deadlines rings or flashes red. They just pass, and the money passes with them. So the move that feels safest, leaving the pile for later, is the exact move the whole month is built to punish. But one of those envelopes you're about to set aside decides what you'll pay for your medications all next year. Uncle Bill pulls the thickest envelope from the pile, the one Robert already half threw away. He taps the name on it, the Annual Notice of Change, the ANOC. Between September 1st and the 30th, every Medicare Advantage and Part D plan has to mail this to every member. Robert's holding his copy right now. It's thick, it's dry, it reads like a phone book. So Robert does what most people do and calls it junk. Linda shrugs. It's just the plan renewing, right? Nothing to do. But inside, in plain rows, it lists exactly what the plan is changing for next year. Which drugs jump to a higher cost tier. Which doctors drop out. Whether the premium climbs. This is the one piece of mail that decides what Robert and Linda pay at the pharmacy counter all next year. Uncle Bill's line? This is the most important mail you'll get all year. Dressed up as the least important on purpose. Everything Robert needs to protect his costs is printed in it. And it's the one letter he was 1 second from throwing out. It looks like junk. It's a map of next year's bills, but the letter isn't the only thing in that pile with your money attached to it. Linda pulls the plastic card out of the drawer, the over-the-counter benefit card, and she says what everyone says. I keep meaning to use it. It'll be there. Uncle Bill doesn't correct her yet. If a Medicare Advantage plan includes an OTC allowance, that card gets refilled every 3 months. Money set aside for vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies. It's shown up so reliably, quarter after quarter, that it feels permanent. Just always there. So they treat it as a nice little extra to spend whenever they get around to it. No bill, no due date on the front, so in their heads, it has no clock at all. But the one thing that card feels most guaranteed to do, wait for you, is the exact thing it will not do. Uncle Bill holds it up as the strangest kind of money there is. Money that's already yours, already paid for, sitting in plain sight. It's the most take-it-for-granted item on the whole September table. And Robert doesn't yet know it's on a countdown. That quiet plastic card is the single clearest example of the trap this whole month runs on. Robert holds up this month's Social Security payment the way it's always come. A paper check in the mailbox, the first of the month. This one, he says, has never missed. For millions of retirees, it still arrives exactly like this. Paper, in the box, on the 1st, for decades. It's the most dependable piece of mail in the house. More reliable than the newspaper, steadier than the bills. So the thought that it could simply stop coming isn't even on the radar. Linda says it flat out. They're not going to just cut off a man's Social Security check. That's the one thing you can count on. But the most dependable envelope in the house is quietly on a government deadline that ends the paper check for good. Uncle Bill holds the reveal and plants the seed. The thing you trust most on this table is the thing about to change the most. Nothing about the check looks different this month. Same paper, same date, same amount. That's the whole disguise. Robert files it under can't happen, which is exactly where the September deadlines like to sit. But the friendliest looking envelope of all is hiding the sharpest trap of the 7. Robert reads the headline out loud. Social Security's cost of living raise is coming. Linda's already smiling. This is the one piece of retirement news nobody dreads. Every fall, Social Security announces the COLA, the bump that lifts the check to keep up with inflation. This year's projection sits around 3.6%. On the average retired worker check of about $2,084 a month, that adds roughly $75, a bigger deposit landing every month starting in January. Robert does the happy math. More in the check, no downside he can see. Linda calls it what it feels like. Finally, a little good news in the mail. But this is the only raise in America that can hand you a brand new tax bill for the crime of getting bigger. Uncle Bill keeps the mechanism and only marks the card. The friendliest number on the table is the one hiding the sharpest edge. Everything about the COLA reads as good news, which is exactly why nobody looks at it twice. Robert pockets it as free money. It's the one item of the 7 that costs you by going up. But there are still dates in this same month that everyone assumes they can safely deal with later. 2 more notices sit in the September pile, and Robert treats them exactly alike. These can wait. Uncle Bill picks up both. The first, in most states, the window to claim a senior property tax break closes between August and October. An exemption, a freeze, or a deferral for homeowners 65 and up, and many counties land right in September. The second, if you have income with no tax withheld, an IRA withdrawal, a pension, rental checks, your third quarter estimated tax is due September 15th. Robert's read on both is the same. Paperwork? Fill it out sometime, mail it sometime. Linda agrees. We'll sit down with all of it one weekend. But one of these 2 dates hands you money you already qualify for, and the other starts charging you the day after, and both slam shut this month. Uncle Bill holds the numbers and marks the pair. These are the 2 that feel most like later, and are most exactly now. Neither one looks like it's on a clock, no red ink, no warning. That's why they're the easiest to let slide. Robert pencils them in for someday. September doesn't do someday, but there's a 7th change this month, and it's the one people wait months on without realizing they don't have to. Robert waves off the last item. A serious diagnosis, he figures, and the system just handles it in its own time. Uncle Bill sets it next to the other 6. Social Security just expanded its Compassionate Allowances program, the fast track that flags the most serious diagnoses for approval in days or weeks instead of 3 to 6 months. The list now runs to nearly 290 conditions. The cancers, the ALS, the diagnoses too grave to leave in a queue. But almost nobody checks it. Linda says the quiet part. You don't argue with Social Security's timing, you just wait. But that fast track only speeds up a claim if you ask for it by name. Wait your turn and you wait the full 3 to 6 months it was built to spare you. Uncle Bill steps back and shows Robert the whole table. 7 changes, a letter, a card, a check, a raise, 2 tax dates, and a disability list. And every single one looks like something you can safely ignore or get to later. Not one of them is ringing an alarm. Side A is locked. The quiet month, the junk-looking mail, nothing here that needs him. But line all 7 up next to each other, and a pattern appears that changes what every single one of them means. Uncle Bill reopens the ANOC and turns it a half turn in Robert's head. This letter isn't asking your permission. It's announcing what already happens. If a drug Robert takes slides from Tier 2 to Tier 4, that's $50 to $100 more every month. And it takes effect January 1st, whether he reads the letter or not. There's a window to fix it. Open enrollment, October 15th to December 7th. He could switch to a plan that still covers his drug cheaply. Robert had assumed ignoring the letter meant nothing changes. But do nothing, and next year's higher costs don't stay on hold waiting for you. They simply become yours automatically on January 1st. He can't fix what he never read. The fix depends on knowing what the letter said before that window opens. Uncle Bill lands it. The letter was never a heads up. It was a decision being made for you, and silence counts as agreement. The tear jump, the dropped doctor, the higher premium, all of it defaults on unless Robert acts inside the window. That's the mechanic of the whole month in one envelope. The automatic outcome is the one that costs you. But if a letter can cost you by default, watch what a card does to money that's already sitting in your name. Uncle Bill turns Linda's "I'll use it whenever" around. That card isn't a discount or a coupon. It's money you already bought and paid for, inside your premium. Its third quarter balance, the money loaded for July, August, and September, is wiped to zero on September 30th. It does not roll into the next quarter. Whatever's left doesn't wait for October. It does not come back as a credit, a refund, or a check. It simply disappears back where it came from. Robert had figured unused meant saved for later. But this isn't a scam taking your money, it's a deadline erasing your own money while you politely wait for a better time to spend it. Uncle Bill lays the number down. According to eHealth, the average senior with that benefit loses more than $500 a year. This exact way. Not to fraud, not to a mistake, to a quiet expiration date on cash they already owned. That's the card from the intro. Fully lit. Hundreds of dollars with your name on it, gone on a date nobody told you to circle. But at least a card gets refilled, the next default takes away the payment itself. Robert asks the reasonable thing. If they stop the paper check, the money just moves somewhere else, right? Uncle Bill. That's the assumption that costs people a month's income. The federal government is ending paper checks. Executive Order 14247 requires benefits to be paid electronically. The Treasury's reasons are blunt. A paper check costs about $3.07 to send, roughly 20 times more than an electronic payment. And it's about 16 times more likely to be lost or stolen than a direct deposit. So Robert figures the switch must be automatic. The check will just become a deposit. But nobody converts you. If you don't set up direct deposit or a direct express card yourself, the check doesn't switch over, it just stops. Uncle Bill hands him the exact move. Set up direct deposit or call Direct Express at 1-800-967-6857 and the income keeps flowing on a card instead of paper. Do nothing and there's no smooth handoff in the background. There's a gap where the check used to be. For a household living on that first of the month money, that's an interrupted paycheck. But the cruelest default of all isn't something being taken away, it's your own good news being turned against you. Robert's still glowing, so Uncle Bill asks the question that stops him. What if the raise is the thing that gets you taxed? Social Security benefits start getting taxed once your provisional income crosses $25,000 for a single filer or $32,000 for a couple. Those two numbers were written into law back in 1983 and have never once been adjusted for inflation. They don't move with the cost of living and they don't move with your COLA. The line stays frozen while your check keeps rising. Robert assumed a tax line would climb with prices like everything else. But that means your cost of living raise pushes your income up into a tax line that refuses to move. So the raise itself is what trips it. Uncle Bill lands it. A retiree sitting just under that line can be taxed on their benefits for the first time next year purely because the check got bigger. Nothing changed but the COLA. And the COLA is exactly what carried them over the edge. The raise everyone cheers is the quiet mechanism that taxes them on a line frozen since before some of their grandkids were born. But at least that trap is invisible. The next one comes with a printed price tag. Uncle Bill picks the estimated tax notice back out of the later pile. This is the one that puts a number on doing nothing. The third quarter estimated tax deadline is September 15th for income with no withholding, like an IRA withdrawal, a pension, or rental checks. Miss it, and the IRS charges an underpayment penalty running about 7% annualized in 2026. That penalty is a meter. It starts the day after the deadline and keeps running until the payment's made. Robert had filed this under flexible, pay it whenever. But this is the one September trap that doesn't take your money silently. It bills you in plain numbers for the delay itself. The IRS filed it under September 15th and then interest. Uncle Bill's point, most of these traps drain you quietly. This one hands you an itemized charge for waiting. The penalty isn't for doing something wrong. Robert didn't cheat, didn't miscalculate. It's for doing nothing by a date. It's the clearest proof of the whole pattern printed on an IRS notice. The cost is the inaction, but money you never claim is just as gone as money you're charged, and the system is counting on you not asking. Uncle Bill sets the property tax notice and the disability list side by side. These two only work if you go get them. Nobody brings them to you. That senior property tax exemption can knock down your assessed value, freeze it, or defer the bill entirely. Real money off the yearly tax. But the assessor never applies it for you. Miss the county's deadline and you pay full freight for another entire year with nothing recoverable. And the compassionate allowances fast track only speeds up a claim if you tell Social Security to review it under that program by name. File the ordinary way and you sit in the months-long queue. But notice what these two share with the letter, the card, the check, and the raise. Not one of them is delivered. Everyone has to be claimed. Uncle Bill draws the line through all of it. The exemption isn't applied, the fast track isn't triggered, the deposit isn't set up unless you move first. The system does not come to you. It waits, and waiting is what makes it collect. 7 items, and now they're all running the exact same way. But once you see that every single one of these runs the same way, you can finally name the rule underneath all 7. Robert finally says it. Every one of these takes from me if I just sit there. Uncle Bill, now you see it? That's not 7 accidents, that's 1 rule. Here's the thread through all 7. The default is built to favor the system, not you. The automatic outcome is the one that costs you. The letter locks in higher drug costs. The card erases your own money. The check stops instead of converting. The frozen threshold taxes your raise. The exemption goes unclaimed. The penalty meter runs. Robert keeps waiting for the one that's different, the exception. But not a single one of them requires you to make a mistake. They only require you to do nothing. Uncle Bill lands it. That's why the quietest looking month is the most expensive one. The silence isn't the absence of a threat, it's the delivery method. Every door opens against you unless you push it the other way. Inaction isn't neutral. It's a decision, and it's the losing one. The whole thing clicks backward into place. The junk-looking mail was never junk. It was 7 doors, all closing, but it costs you stays abstract until you stack up in one place exactly what a month of doing nothing takes. Robert asks it straight. All right, add it all up. What does a lazy September actually cost us? Uncle Bill starts laying the losses on the table one at a time. A single drug jumping to a higher tier. $50 to $100 more every month, all next year. The OTC card, over $500 gone at midnight on the 30th. A paper check that stops. An entire month's income interrupted. Benefits taxed for the first time because a 1983 line never moved. A property tax break skipped. A full year of overpaying, no refund. A missed estimate. A 7% penalty compounding from September 16th. But here's what makes it so easy to ignore. No single one of these is a catastrophe on its own. That's exactly why they get waved off. Uncle Bill pushes the pile together. Stacked into 1 month of silence, they add up to thousands of dollars. Not from a scam, not from a market crash, not from anything Robert did wrong. Thousands drained from a retiree who did nothing except wait. Linda goes quiet. The quiet month just became the most expensive line in the household budget. But the same rule that quietly takes from you when you wait will just as quietly pay you the moment you move. Robert's braced for the next loss, but Uncle Bill turns the card over. Flip it, and it works for you. Watch. Flag a serious diagnosis under compassionate allowances by name, and you turn a 3 to 6 month wait into days or weeks. Same system, same list, but acting fast because you asked, instead of waiting because you didn't. And that COLA tax trap has an antidote hiding in the new law. The One Big Beautiful Bill created a $6,000 senior deduction for filers 65 and older. Robert assumes a deduction is just paperwork shuffling. But that deduction lowers the very provisional income that crosses the tax line enough for many to pull them back under it. Uncle Bill lands the reframe. The default takes when you're passive. Action is what makes the exact same machinery pay out. The fast track that made you wait now makes you fast. The raise that taxed you can be pulled back under the line. Every trap in this video has a matching move, the same lever turned the other way. But every one of these moves only works inside a window, and every window is open right now, this month. Robert, finally sold, asks the last easy question. Okay, but can't I sort all this out once things settle down? Uncle Bill lays the calendar on the table. Every one of these has a hard edge and no do-over, a specific date, and then a closed door. Estimated tax, September 15th. The OTC balance and the paper check requirement, September 30th. Most property tax windows closing right now, and open enrollment to fix your plan runs October 15th to December 7th. But you need the letter's information before it opens. Robert starts to say next month and catches himself. But miss any of them and there's no retroactive recovery. You don't get last quarter's card money back. You don't get the skipped exemption refunded. You don't reopen a closed enrollment. Uncle Bill lands it. This is why September specifically. The doors aren't just open this month, they're all closing this month on dates that don't bend, don't extend, and don't come back around. Later isn't a smaller version of now. For every one of these 7, later is gone. But none of this was ever an accident. And once you see that, the small pile of mail on your counter looks completely different. Uncle Bill sets the OTC card and the almost tossed letter back on the table. Go back to where we started. Hundreds of your own dollars on that card and this letter you nearly threw out. None of it was bad luck or bad timing. It's a system that collects by inaction. Built so the quiet choice is the costly one. September only looked like the calm month. It's the month the doors close. The letter, the card, the check, the raise, the 2 tax dates, the disability list, 7 doors, 1 hard month. Robert had it backwards the whole time. He thought doing nothing was the safe move. But the single move that beats every one of these traps is the same move. Open the mail, make the calls, claim what's yours before the date. Uncle Bill lands the close. Do that, and the most expensive month on a retiree's calendar becomes the most profitable one. Same pile of mail, same 7 doors. The only variable was whether Robert reached for the handle. The month was never quiet. It was waiting to see if you'd move.